Possibles pouch are the safety pins. And looks like I got stuck with the pink roll of thread, but that's alright. And I bring a needle too. Several things you can do with the needle and thread. Obviously sewing. You can do emergency sewing if you need to on a real bad cut or wound that needs to be brought back closed together. Another use that you can do if you I bring a small neodymium magnet along with me, and that can be used to, if you run a needle across a magnet in the same direction, it'll magnetize that needle for you, and then you can suspend it in the middle with some thread, tie a knot around the needle and hang it, and it'll actually align itself the same as you'd get from a compass like this one. So that's useful. And last but not least for a Possibles pouch is I always try and bring a mirror. You can see that. And those are awesome for signaling. They have signal mirrors that have a little hole in the center so that you can guide it into your target easier. You can still use these, and what you do is you start signaling right there, use your fingers, and then you just know that it's right in between your fingers where you're signaling. So if you see a plane way out there, you'll signal to them like this. Don't worry about flashing a code. The international distress number is 3. So making a triangle, 3 triangles, a pile of 3 of anything, signaling 3 going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's an international distress signal that most aviation pilots are going to recognize. So 3 fires, and that's the first priority. Going back to the aluminized Mylar emergency blanket, that's also very useful because for signaling for rescue, because it's so reflective, you can nearly just tie it onto the end of a tree out in the field, and then even while you're taking a rest under a tree or something yourself, that's still waving in the wind a little bit and signaling to anyone flying by, so a helicopter searching for you is going to find you quickly. So remember that, 3 is your international distress signal. We also, a good hiker will know that anything he takes out hiking with, he's going to want to have multiple uses for. I don't know if you can see that from there. If it were really cold, I dress in layers, right? So I've got my t-shirt on underneath here, then I got a long sleeve t-shirt, then I got a military flight suit, which is, I like to buy these off the Army Navy. They're fire resistant, so that's useful if you are in a certain kind of an accident. Then my coat is a layered coat, and in a survival situation you want to stay warm and dry. If you start sweating, you need to take stuff off, even if it's in a cold environment. So one thing I like about this little setup here, I got it off of Major Surplus, I believe. It's been a while, but I've taken this out into the field a lot. And basically it's a emergency sleeping bag right here, and this folds up into the back, the little tail here, but at night I can completely encapsulate my body into it, and I'm fairly warm. And if I'm dressing properly for the environment, wearing layers, and I always want to take more layers than what I'm actually feeling comfortable in the initial daytime, because obviously at night it gets hotter. So you never know, you might be going on a hunting trip or on a drive or anything. A lot of people go driving down really long drives and they never think of getting stuck along the way, you know. There's time, you never know when you come across an emergency. So having blankets in your car and, you know, several layers of coats, that's a smart thing to do. Anyhow, I'm gonna review this one that is made, this little emergency kit here. It comes with these little tube tents, If you've ever used these, this version here is extremely thin film and it will not resist wind very well. It tends to do better. They have it on a certain angle there that's pretty high, but if you lower the triangle of your tent down a little lower rather than having it stick up like that, have it lower to the ground, it'll actually do better in the strong winds. And obviously if you can keep it sheltered amongst the several trees and that, or against a rock, anywhere where it can be semi-sheltered from the wind, this is actually not a bad way to keep weather off of you, at least water coming down on you. But like I say, it's not very wind resistant, but it's okay. These mainstay bars, I don't know if you've ever tried them, but they taste a little bit better than cardboard, but they will give you the calories you need, and they're small, so that's very convenient. And so the whole point is being able to get you some calories, and like I say, food's probably the least of your priorities. It does come with 2 bottles of water, and you can also use these bottles as little canteens later. I guess gives you some dust masks. There's got to be some filtering uses you could do stuff with on that, but another one of the survival whistles, those are always good. Gives you a fairly okay little first aid kit. Nothing in the way of a compression bandage, but this would all be useful. I mean, it does give you some aluminized Mylar emergency blankets, some emergency ponchos. I would not mind having this in the wild, but I'm definitely going to stay with this for my possibles pouch and keep the two together. It's definitely a good thing to have around in the back of your trunk or something. That's about all I have for now, but thanks, and next week we'll go and run through some reviews of different weapons that are good for survival and just weapons that I have a liking to. And hey, if you have any comments, go ahead and post your comments on YouTube or on any of the channels where you're watching us on, and we'll answer them back. Thanks.